Local history, local culture, local events, your community. This is the Joe Kelly Show.
Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Rebecca McLain is our guest. She's the Executive Director at the Oneida County History Center, and we're going to be talking about the upcoming telethon. We'll also be talking about some artifacts that Rebecca brought from the archives of the History Center at 1608 Genesee Street. But before we do any of that, we're going to say welcome. Good to see you.
Good morning, Joe.
The telethon. Let's start with the telethon. We'll get into the artifacts that you brought with you a little bit later. Telethon's right around the corner.
Absolutely. So about 3.5 weeks away. We're going to be 2.5. I need a calendar.
Yeah.
Wednesday, May 17th from 5 to 8 p.m. Another 3-hour broadcast that we're excited about. So it'll be on WUTR and then also streaming on cnyhomepage.com.
And you're going to be there. I'm going to be there. Shelby Pay's going to be there for the first time.
Absolutely. We have a new starboard host. Unfortunately, Kelly Blazowski from Oneida County Tourism couldn't join us this year. She has another commitment, but we are very lucky to get Shelby Pay to fill in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to get Shelby's reaction to this whole thing. And in addition, there's a whole bunch of people that'll be coming in and out throughout the evening.
Yes, absolutely. So we are still finalizing our guest list, but we've invited a lot of our community supporters, individuals that we partner with. So I can tell you, like the first phone bank shift, Greg Evans from Indium is going to help us out. We have Dave Mathis from Oneida County Workforce Development, Reverend Sharon Baugh as well, and a couple others. So about 16 people helping with the phones that night, plus probably a dozen or so guests just for to share a few words, and then also, of course, individuals presenting checks.
Yeah, and we're going to be usually every year. In fact, he's been coming in for as many years as I can remember. Sheriff Rob Mashel comes in. Oneida County Executive Anthony Pacente comes in. We've got the guys from, oh boy, help me out here, Smith Traber, Zogby.
Oh, yep, Skelzo, yep, Zogby and Wittig.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Steve Zogby, I'll have to confirm still.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
Yeah. And we mix
someone.
it. Frank Tomano's going to be coming in as always. And we try to mix a little history in with an appeal for funding. And this is the signature, really the signature event of the History Center, yes?
Absolutely. So it is a fundraising event, and it's also a membership drive. So it's great for people if they want to renew their membership. You can give a membership to a friend, or if you're not part of the History Center, it's a great time to join. And all of that supports everything we do. Donations and membership, they are our primary source of income. We certainly apply for grants, but we don't get annual government funding, so it's really important for us that the community steps in like they do.
Yeah. The charge, the membership fees, I think people would be surprised at how low they are.
Yep, so it's only $40 a year for an individual, $70 for a family. And then we also have a student membership for $15 and a corporate membership for $150. You get a discount in our bookstore. You get a newsletter 6 times a year from us. And the newsletter certainly tells you about upcoming events, but we also try to put content in there. So you get a couple historical articles, stuff we feature from our collection, just to show you what we're all about.
And the history, well, it didn't start off as the Oneida County History Center. It started off as something else in
1876. So we are, I guess, 3 years away from our 150th anniversary. We've had a couple of different names over the years. So we started out as the Oneida Historical Society at Utica. They dropped the and at the at the beginning, the at Utica at the end. They added county in, and then about 5 years ago, we became Oneida County History Center. And so the mission has been the same for almost 150 years. The name's changed a little bit, but it's to simplify, but basically to protect and preserve Oneida County and Central New York history.
And it's all protected at 1608 Genesee Street, former
Yes.
church.
Yes, actually, I have my lovely puzzle I'm going to show off here in honor of our recent achievement. So this is our building where we live now. It was originally a Christian Science church. Cornerstone was laid in 1914. Construction was finished in 1915. And they were there until the late 80s when we took over. And made it our home. But we were added to the State Register of Historic Places in March, which is very exciting.
And beneficial as well,
Yep,
right?
beneficial as well. And hopefully this will lead to our inclusion on the National Register of Historic Places as well.
And the prior to that, I'm trying to think of a little history here as we talk. Prior to going to 1608 Genesee Street, the History Center was at Fountain Elms.
Yep, we were in the basement of Fountain Elms for a couple of years. And then before that,
Yes.
so for about 20 years.
Yeah, and before that, before you go to that, because we're going to do that in the second
Okay.
segment, I see you brought a trowel with you that
did.
is significant to that. The best thing to do on telethon night is to tune in, but if you can't tune in, you can get on the computer, yes?
Oh, absolutely. So as I mentioned, it's streaming on cnyhomepage.com. This is fantastic. I know my sister tuned in down from Virginia, or even if you're local and you don't get the TV stations, you can watch there. There's also a segment during the national news where we cannot broadcast on the TV station, but we will continue, the telethon will continue on streaming on CNY homepage.
I know one year, I don't know if it was, I think it was 2 years ago, we came close to the goal but didn't quite make it on the air, but some contributions came in after we went off the air.
Yes, absolutely. So our goal is 35,000, and hopefully we can get 100 callers. I think we had about 95 last year, so it'd be great to hit 100. And we have, the phones are open for 3 hours, and then we absolutely keep a couple people nearby in case you weren't able to get through, or if you're just a couple minutes late.
Yeah.
And then you can always, you can donate online as well.
Yeah. One of the things that I think a good job is done by our phone bank people is they get people on the phone, they get them off real quick so that you're not talking about a bulky kind of time here. It's boom, boom.
Exactly. So they're pretty quick. They just need some basic information so that we can process your donation or membership and send you, of course, a thank you. And then if you're one of the first 40 callers to pledge $50 or more, there's going to be a surprise gift sponsored by Oneida County Tourism. So we want to make sure you can come pick that up.
Yeah, and the entire telethon is sponsored by?
Yep, it's presented by Bank of Utica. So they are extremely supportive. They're fantastic to work with. And it's just great that they are a presenting sponsor. It's a good way to kick off the night.
And I think that when they've got a great history unto themselves, so maybe we can talk about that when they come in. I don't know, do you know who's coming in to represent them?
I still have to confirm, but I think it'll probably be Leon DeBernardis.
Yes, and he was here the past few years. Okay,
I had a verbal commitment, but I have to get it in writing.
Good. And we've got some artifacts that Rebecca was kind enough to bring with her. And when we come back, we'll talk about some of those artifacts. Short break, right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Rebecca McLain's our guest. Rebecca is the Executive Director at the Oneida County History Center. We're talking about local history. Specifically, we're talking about the upcoming telethon. It's the big event for the History Center, their signature event, and it's May 17th, 5 to 8 p.m. on WUTR. And we're going to have a good time. We're going to provide a lot of information to you. I'll be hosting it along with Rebecca and along with Shelby Pay. And there'll be a whole bunch of people, a lot of familiar faces coming in that night. And we're going to be doing it from 1608 Genesee Street. And from 1608 Genesee Street comes these items that Rebecca brought today. What is this, Rebecca?
So that is a trowel for the dedication of our original building, which was the Munson Williams Memorial Building. It no longer stands, but it was on the corner, if I want to say, John, Elizabeth, and I'm missing a street.
Park.
In Park, yes.
And this is a picture of that building. I remember going into that building as a kid, and it was a beautiful building. It didn't have a lot of space, number one problem. Number two problem, it had no parking. And eventually it came down, but that's a good, it was on Park Avenue, 600 Park Avenue, but that's a good picture of it. There's not a lot of pictures of that around.
There are not.
Yeah.
So I think we have a nice painting as well, but
down in the conference room, I think you've got a painting down the conference room.
We moved it to the gallery, but it moves around.
All right. And one of the things I see, this booklet was written by T. Wood Clark, Dr. T. Wood Clark, and he is the author of Utica for a Century and a Half.
Correct.
Maybe one of the best reference books there are about
absolutely
Oneida
prolific
County.
Local history author. We have a number of other smaller publications that he researched and wrote as well.
Here's another picture of that Munson Williams Memorial on Park Ave, and it was filled with artifacts. And talking about being filled with artifacts, do we have any idea the number of artifacts that you have at 1608?
Well, let's see. We always say we have over 250,000 documents, probably, 10,000 objects and artifacts, and countless images. So whether that's photographs, we have a painting collection, we have glass plate negatives, we have various film. I'm sure we have microfilm, although we don't use that anymore. Literally, I think we have around 10,000 newspapers.
And speaking of newspapers, I've got several clippings that you brought, and I can tell just by looking that this is the old Saturday Globe.
It is, and so Saturday Globe isn't the oldest newspaper we have in our collection. The earliest one, I think, is 1831 from Camden. But yeah, we have a couple of pieces from the Saturday Globe. It was published here in Utica, started in Utica, and I think it was in publication from 1881 through the 1920s. And they had a lot of firsts. So it is one of the first newspapers to be nationally distributed and have color illustrations on the front, which sounds kind of strange. When it first started, actually, there's one on the bottom of the pile that's black and white. So they did start black and white. And I think, I can't remember which, somewhere in the Midwest, Wisconsin or Michigan, there was another newspaper that had, I think, blue and red, a couple colors in their paper before the Saturday Globe, but this is the first one to have full color, and it was distributed all across the nation. They also had, I think, some of the first home delivery, so news carriers at the time, newsboys. Yeah. So something we don't think about today, but was revolutionary at the time.
Is this I'm holding up the September 10th issue, 1892 issue of the Saturday Globe. Is this their first issue?
I don't believe so. I think I think they started in 1881, so we have a couple years. And so actually these pieces, just to clarify, are from our education collection. That's kind of why they're cut up. They either came to us this way, or they're a triplicate or duplicate item. We have the original newspapers, better copies, stored in archival boxes.
Is that an archival box there?
Yeah, this is just a little tiny archival box. I got to go on a tour of Gaylord Archival, which is based out of Syracuse. They manufacture a lot of these, but these are important in preservation for several reasons. The boxes are kind of pH balance to help protect, and then they also, of course, just protect from dirt, light, and other contaminants that might increase the rate of decay for lots of items, not just newspapers, but artifacts. So, you know, light, dust, air, all bad for
Right, right.
preserving history. So
What's the point at which the Oneida County History Center is at, if any, with digitizing?
digitizing. So all of these things that you mentioned are ongoing projects. So we're constantly trying to replace any boxes that, as the budget allows, that are non-archival with archival boxes. We are currently, all of our new photographs that come in are being digitized, some of the larger items. And then we actually, we got a tiny grant from the New York State Archives Partnership Trust through the IMLS Foundation. So tough for me to remember all that. But we are working on digitizing a couple specific collections related to women's history and Native American history to be used by educators. So right now, our intern Amy is working on the Lucy Carlisle Watson collection, which is stuff. She was a local suffragist and I guess women's rights leader here in Utica, and it has stuff not just from her, but also from her family and genealogy. So it's an ongoing process. That's how I would put it.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you ever foresee the time that somebody could sit home and just go through the archives of the History Center?
Well, we are working on getting portions of our collection online, so you can actually go to New York Heritage. If you Google New York Heritage, it should pop up digital collections, and you search for us. We've put a few items on there. One day, we could have them all there, but after you digitize, you have to find the server space and hosting, and it's a complex situation to get everything, especially if we have hundreds of thousands of documents and images. But we are working towards at least getting some of our collections available online.
I know when you came into the History Center as the #2 person, you worked hard in terms of outreach and getting things online and Facebook and all that. How's that all going?
It's going great. So upward trajectory. We have almost 10,000 followers on Facebook, which I think is fantastic. Maybe almost, I think 1,700 on Instagram, and I can't remember Twitter. We're not as active on Twitter as we used to be. Simply because that's not my main role anymore. I have a lot of other things to do. And then it's fast-paced, and you need to be able to respond quickly, which with a staff of 2 1/4, we don't always have the time to do. So we'll post important updates.
I know on Facebook, though, I look on there, and you've got interesting pictures that you put up there, interesting objects that you put up there, and a little story behind it.
Yep, we post several times a week on Facebook and Instagram. That's where we try to share different artifacts, different items from our collection, photographs you mentioned as well. Certainly share all of our events, any updates we have. So it's a really great place to keep up and also interact, be social with fellow local history lovers.
Okay. We come back, Rebecca McLain is going to be asked a question by yours truly. We'll see what the answer is. Short break, right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Rebecca McLain's our guest, Executive Director, Oneida County History Center, 1608 Genesee Street. And it is not by chance that she came in today. She came in today because we want to talk about the upcoming telethon, which is going to be at the headquarters on May 17th. 19th.
Correct.
And you think I'd have said that a little bit more forcefully because I'm going to be there, so I need to know what that date is. And we're going to gather around there and go on there at what time, Rebecca?
From 5 to 8 p.m.
Okay. And couple more artifacts she brought in. Let's start with these, Rebecca. What are these?
Great. Those are Haudenosaunee bead bags or beadwork. Maybe you're familiar with the Haudenosaunee, if not more commonly called the Iroquois. But these were traditionally, they started making them after the arrival of Europeans, kind of for the tourist trade. But since then, they have kind of reclaimed the art, and it is part of their cultural heritage. So just a beautiful piece. We don't have a ton of Native American artifacts in our collection, a lot of utilitarian items. We have some projectile points, sometimes called arrowheads or spearheads, some pottery sherds, things like that. But I just wanted to bring this just because it is a beautiful piece. It takes a lot of time and talent. And it's also tied to their oral tradition, their oral story. So traditionally women would make these together, and it served as a time for them to gather, share stories, share their history. So there's a lot behind.
Do you know
what those
what years those date back to?
Unfortunately, I don't. So they were added to our collection in the 1950s. And so while we keep records today, everything that came into our collection, record keeping was a little different back then. So we know pre-1950, but everything would have been kept in ledgers like this, the information. So
Well,
unfortunately, we don't know.
You speak of ledger, and this is the Baggs Hotel ledger that you brought in.
Yes.
And there are some interesting names. Not in the best shape. I mean, you wouldn't want to handle this too often.
No. Well, I mean, this is what year do we have here? I think it says on here. 1868. So if you want to do the math, over 150 years old. And actually, this ledger was believed to be lost for a little while. It truly was not. It was just in a different storage location, housed with some of our Bibles and then some of the records about the Oneida County History Center or Historical Society.
And there's a pointer to a very famous name there in that ledger in that year.
So this one, significant, I'm sure there could be other names here, but it's pretty fragile, so we try not to handle it too much. But Charles Dickens stayed at Baggs Hotel. I think he basically got stuck in Utica due to the weather. I think he was traveling from Albany or to Albany. And so you can kind of see his name there. We're not sure, it's been debated whether he actually signed it or whether a clerk signed it. We're not 100% sure, but we leave it up to the viewer themselves. We printed out a number of examples of his known signature.
Versus the hotel signature.
Versus the hotel.
Yeah.
So regardless, if it's his or not his signature, he did stay there.
Yeah, what do you think?
Pretty exciting. What do I think? I'm guessing it's probably the clerk signed him.
Okay. Speaking of Charles Dickens, there was a program at the History Center not too long ago about Charles Dickens.
Absolutely.
Yes?
So his visit to Utica was short, but we have a wonderful volunteer, Dennis Dewey, who created and produced a film for us about Dickens' visit to Utica and chronicles that in a shortly over 30 minutes. And this video is available online on our YouTube channel. So we launched it around the anniversary of when he stayed, so March 17th. So I think the film premiered on March 18th this year. But yeah, if you go to our website, you can find it.
Talk about that YouTube channel that the History Center has.
Yeah, so we've had a YouTube channel for a couple of years now. We really started to populate it a bit more because of the pandemic, and we had to go online. But since then, we've tried to step up production a little bit, and we try to record with permission of our presenters. We try to record our programs and make sure our content is available after for those who can't attend for whatever reason. And I think we are nearing 50 different videos on there, and then we're producing some shorts as well. And so it's great for just anybody who likes history. There are a couple pieces that are geared towards educators. Actually, met a English teacher from Clinton this past weekend, and she assigned, they were reading Dickens, so she assigned the Dickens film to her students.
What other things do you have on that channel?
There's lots of stuff. So Jim Colthart does a program about Mohawk Airlines. David Staley, who's a New York State archaeologist, I think there's one on the Chenango Canal. There's one about some archaeological investigations he did in downtown Utica. This past weekend, Paul Romano talked about the development of Utica Harbor, so I think that one might be up. I'll have to check. It usually takes about a week after a program.
And you've got something in your lap that looks an awful lot like a potato, yes?
Yes, my potato I brought for two different reasons. This past Friday was National Historic Marker Day, which if you don't know, there are hundreds, maybe not. I don't know. There are plenty around the county. The state education department used to put these up. Now it's the William...
Those blue and gold signs.
Blue and gold signs, yep. Now it's the William G. Pomeroy Foundation. But they just highlight significant people, significant events and locations in our history. And so we recently helped raise $750 to get one replaced in the town of Florence, the Florence Farming Association. We were the sponsor for this historic marker, I think back in 2016, and unfortunately it was vandalized or stolen, and it's been missing for about 2 years. So we wanted to put it back up, and it represents a free black farming community that settled there in the 1800s. And so we're excited about that. And then also there's a fun story we're diving into more, but we recently posted on Facebook, we revived a story about the Utica potato. It was called the garnet chili, I believe, and it was bred or invented, I think his name was Reverend Chauncey Goodrich. He was involved in various things, but horticulture and planting at the Utica State Hospital, Old Main. And this potato is kind of the grandmother to the russet potato. So not this particular potato, but so after the potato famine in Ireland, he wanted to breed a very resilient potato. So he bred this garnet chili, which became, I think, rose something, which then became the russet potato. So
we've got 20 seconds left, so I'll let you give the time, the date, and the place for the telethon.
Yes, please join us on Wednesday, May 17th from 5 to 8 p.m. To support us, you can call during, become a member, donate, and also we'll feature a lot of great artifacts and guests from the community.
Okay, good. Thanks for coming in. That's going to do it for us this week. We'll be back next week. Don't forget cnyhomepage.com. There's lots of good stuff there. Until next time, take care of yourself, everybody.